So I have to like use this like live streaming equipment now, and that's how I get the little connection. So let me just. Not that one. Let's see. Okay, there you go. Trying to get the right link up.
Are we live right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was just trying to get it set up, so it's okay. It's a little latency between what we're actually doing and what we're saying, so.
Oh, okay, cool. No, bro, we could just start and think that people will join in.
Yeah, because we have we're joining in now.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
yeah, you can talk to us in the chat. Let me see how I open this up.
Just go this one.
All right.
Yeah, because it'll stay down. You just shut it off. You just switch the module around. But yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So we'll do this one so we can see it.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Okay. All right. So welcome to the Black Panther live stream review. We are very excited to share about yes, Wakanda Forever. So we're very excited to be able to share this, and this is going to be filled with spoilers. So, if you're like, oh, I don't want to see any, spoilers or stuff, we'll talk about some of the concepts of things and overarching things, but we're going to be talking about the bits and pieces of the movie, and the biggest thing for us is we saw the movie twice this weekend. We saw it on opening night on Thursday, and then we also saw it this past Sunday. So, yeah, and 3D for the first one, and then IMAX the second time. Wanted to see that large viewing of it.
Yeah, I would say the first time I went to go see it, it was pretty packed. There was a line outside the theater, and then even the second time, the first time we saw it at like 6 at night. And the second time we actually went at 9:30 in the morning, and the movie was just as packed. So I was like, "Wow!" Like I was honestly surprised at the crowd at both showings of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially for the opening event because we were trying to get tickets to see it on the 12th, the really advanced screening earlier in the week, and But those tickets were really hard to get out. But we were lucky enough to get the Thursday opening night event, and it was cool because it allowed us to get a free popcorn with our ticket, and we also got a collectible coin that came with the whole package. So, and we also had a little bit of extra behind the scenes with the movie, so it allowed for us to get just a few extras aside from just the film, which is amazing. And I'm so excited for the future of filmmaking, especially for minority filmmakers, and the cast. The representation in this is amazing. I think it opens doors for other groups of people, but especially the African American community and the African community and the diaspora. Coming this culmination. There's I want to say like a feeling of like awakening in the mind, as far as just like, wow, this is interesting, and this is like this sort of like pride and happiness and joy surrounding this movie, and to see that kind of the aspirations before it came out, but then seeing those kind of fulfilled, watching it and being, I would say, surprised and just enamored at the amazing concept that really came to fruition.
Yeah. I think that this film definitely helps Hollywood understand, that we're tired of the same old narratives, and that when you have storylines that really show the acting range of African American and African actors, and puts those acting skills on show for a storyline that's actually worthy of of watching, something that does not talk about only negative things, something that talks about things that we kind of already know as a community. I mean, we've already coined the term Black Girl Magic. There's already been a term we use in our community, and I definitely think that this film was Black Girl Magic to the T. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're gonna talk about some of the themes as we go through, but I guess one of the big themes that I want to talk about was the feminism that was on display. And the reason why I bring this up first is because when you go through the opening trailer, right after that, the first person that you see is a woman. And so the woman, the movie opens with the image of a woman, which is, I think, a little symbolism about the direction of the movie, and just that strength of that, because the first person you see is Okoye. And I think that was something significant. Now, the first voices you hear, that was T'Chaka talking to young T'Challa with the opening scene.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up? Wakanda forever.
Yeah, no, the movie was dope. So, do you want to kind of go over the characters and kind of who they are, background about them, or what do you want to start with?
I think we do it as we go along. So let's just like cut into the movie. So we're literally gonna go top to bottom as best as we can, and just try and cover things as we go. So we're gonna just start off with the opening scene. The opening credits comes in where there's a dialogue with T'Chaka talking to young T'Challa about the story of Wakanda and the story of the past and how this meteorite came from space and landed in Africa, and this is the abundance of their resource, and around that these 5 tribes gathered together and created a new place and a new country, which is Wakanda, which is a fictional nation. Based around the kind of the Lake Victoria area, and so there's that area and the surrounding countries make up the fictional nation of Wakanda.
Yeah, and I in the comic there's actually over 100.
No, 18.
Oh, 18 different tribes that are written into the comic, but for movie's sake they went ahead and went with 5 tribes. The actor that plays T'Chaka in the film, John, he is actually from South Africa, and they were speaking Xhosa, which is a language very common in South Africa. And then T'Challa, played by Chadwick Boseman. I mean, we've been following him for a while. Way back in his days of Lincoln Heights, he was on that show. He was really, really good.
He played Jackie Robinson.
He played 42. He also James Brown. Yeah, so he's had a lot of kind of like roles that he's really been showcasing.
Thurgood Marshall, I believe.
That was Marshall. Himself in film, and really just forging that path of being honestly a person that's really put on for the culture, so to speak, and what he and the roles he's taken. But yeah, the first scene of the movie, yeah.
So the in the first scene is a visual, and so he's going on literally the history that goes from the creation of Wakanda to the conflict in the world, and how it's important for the king to kind of balance that
Mm-hmm.
conflict. And um, once that scene concludes, but let's talk about some of the imagery in that scene. So it was like the sand creatures in that imagery. It showed the imagery of slavery, the people that were in chains, and kind of
Getting
the
led onto the ship.
yeah, getting led onto the ship, the battles of war. You saw the soldiers battling war, just talking about the conquering of nations over time, because they were really just fast
Mm-hmm.
forwarding through the time, just showing in snapshots, and just showing that how the world is at this disarray around them. And that's
Yeah.
important because for when you the idea of Wakanda and when it is revealed, this is an important mind frame that you have to understand about the people there, and that seeing the
Mm-hmm.
world, and that they do things a certain way. So we kind of get into that as well. So the after the opening scene, you see Okoye there piloting the ship, and then it cuts over to Chadwick Boseman, and they're having a conversation about the mission that they're getting ready to take. He's looking at it, and she goes to pick up the staff, and he says that I can handle this, and she has the hmm, is that right? Kind of look on her face. It's like, okay, she put the spirit out, like, oh, you think you don't need my help, but uh, he goes and looks at it, and she gives him a simple warning, don't freeze, and he says, I never freeze, and drops down, and the
That's the first time, and in film we were, blockbuster film, we were able to see Black Panther in action, and it was as amazing as expected when he went into his first battle of the movie. I think, right then and there we're introduced to the beads and their powers, and we're also introduced not only to Denai Guerrera, but in the next scene we're introduced to the character played by Lupita Nyong'o, which is Nakia, and her connection to him is then revealed at that point as well. So
yeah, and the cool thing about it was in that scene, you saw the dynamic of what Nakia was doing out there. There was a soldier that was getting ready to be attacked by T'Challa, and she decides to step in and say that he's just as innocent as these people, because they were kidnapped as well. So it was a kind of her. You could see a little bit of her character showing just in that small moment, and even the use of the language. I think Lupita learned a bit of the language, which it wasn't the
Costa.
Xhosa, but it was another language that she learned for that scene, and so um, it cuts to the part where he tells her that the king has passed away, and would like her to come back to Wakanda.
Yeah.
And that part is important because it sets up the timing inside the Marvel
Mm-hmm.
comic universe, because this isn't necessarily present day. This is actually in the past, and that's why it's important in the next part where it alludes to the timing, and it's kind of you see where they were going back in the past, but they never kind of stated what the current time was, because they wanted to leave a bit openness. But
Mm-hmm.
that it was after the events of Civil War,
Yeah.
and which that's where the President T'Chaka was killed there, um, and so as they're going back to Wakanda, you see, just the valleys and the lands, and it's really amazing visuals. You see the people riding on horseback, and so you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the farm animals, and you're like, okay, this looks like a nice country, but I'm like, where's the technology? I know
Yeah.
they that's coming up.
Yeah. So they said, yeah, they got you really ready with the orchestra, and you almost feel like you're flying in on that spaceship with them. And then when he goes, this never gets old, and of course, to T'Challa, he's been living in Wakanda, and Wakandans have known the greatness of Wakanda before. The first time everybody's being introduced to Wakanda and in all its greatness, and we learned that they have the magnetic rail that that Elon Musk is trying to put out now. So they have these.
But
technologies.
that's late. That's like way. That's like way later.
Yeah, they
on.
have
It's
these
like,
technologies that are the most advanced in the world, and they're showcasing those things as you get to know the nation. And you see the architecture, and you see that Wakanda is perfect, but and also it's imperfect. Has some imperfect elements as well that make it a real city. They have tribes that agree with everything going on and how it's being run, and they have tribes that are like, I think we could do it better, but they kind of respect, the harmony, the traditions and harmony, and they choose to live in the mountains. So yeah, they showed us the vast, the city and the mountains, and so now we can,
So the important thing is that the city is hidden. It's not something that you can just see on a map or see anywhere. They've intentionally hidden themselves away. So when he said that he wasn't ever tired of doing it, was like flying right into the hillside, and that's like the introduction to the city. And so like once that happens, you get to meet his mother, which is played by Angela Bassett, and the character's name is Ramonda, and you meet the sister Shuri. And this is where she talks about the technology and just like how it can always be improved. And you get to see a bit of her personality and the banter, between brother and sister. But you also get to see the dynamic with Nakia, because she gets to meet with the mother and Okoye and Ayo, and at that moment, that's where Lupita is going off to get changed and get prepared for the ceremony.
Yeah, and you're also shown for the first time the entire guard that follows along with T'Challa under Okoye's direction, since she's the general of the Wakandan army. So yeah.
And so that with her being the general. Yeah, I think that's an important aspect. You see with her armor and what she's wearing that the neck beads and the wristlets there of gold, and that's like another way to symbolize a rank, because the other soldiers theirs were silver, and so you could kind of see a distinction in rank, not just in the costume itself, but even in the difference in decoration. It was a way for Okoye to really stand out in that moment. So leading up next is the prepare for the ceremony where T'Challa becomes king. So this is like the ceremony that leads to that.
Yeah, so that I think that for a lot of people, this was the scene in the movie where we was like, wow, this is like, jaws are on the floor at this point.
Yeah.
We're just like, what? This is nuts. You see Daniel Kaluuya, Wakabi in the movie, my fella from Get Out, who never makes good decisions. He's there, and he's like, you see the guard, you see all the tribes together singing on that mountainside, and that was literally, just the power of that image was amazing. We get to see, the styles of wearing hair. We get to see just so many things that we maybe have known about in African culture, or seen African culture before, but now in a Marvel comic universe movie. So it was amazing. It was amazing. And yes, you're right. The women were the MVPs, absolutely, of this film. That's some of the amazing black girl magic that Ryan Coogler really channeled. I think that he did an amazing job just showing that the sheer power of what happens if you truly can trust and be behind black women and see. What you don't even have to see, you already know it's going to be amazing, because the amount of this, just the people that how they all came together, all these female characters in this film, and nobody was overarching over anybody else or boxing anyone else out of the film. Right. Everyone had a good amount of shine in the film, and it was amazing. So, and
that's an important direction, was that it wasn't a battle for position between the women. Each of them were firmly cemented in themselves. Their character, their development was very strong, and it wasn't a battling. It didn't ever seem like any one of those women characters needed to battle for the shine. They were strong, powerful, intelligent on their own right, and they didn't necessarily need any of those kind of intervening kind of story driven things that would take away from the total aspect of the movie, because it's important in the story of the movie and what things happen. So then we get introduced to Eric Killmonger. This is the area where you get to meet him for the first time
at the London Museum of History. You meet him in the West Africa art exhibit. He's checking out the artifacts, and he's got the classic Killmonger hairstyle that people were used to seeing in the previews for the film, and they knew right then and there that he was.
We forgot to talk about the fight, the battle.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's backtrack. Let's take it back. So T'Challa is about to be king. We're talking about the representation and talking about the amazing people. So the five. Well, there's four groups of four tribes. Yeah, there's four tribes there, and they're there for this ceremony, and so they're asking the people who would like to challenge for the throne, and they're doing their honorable things and saying we will not challenge, and from that point the Jabari tribe comes into, and you hear this barking. In the background, it's just starting to get louder, and then you just see these large in-shaped muscular guys just coming out of this small area, and it just it was powerful in showing their size, and just that they're in this space and they're coming out of space, and it's revealing them, and you get to see M'Baku for the first time, the leader of the Jabari tribe.
And so with that, it kind of also revealed this respectful way to challenge for the throne. You see the master of ceremony is Zuri, played by Forrest Whitaker. He was an amazing chancellor of ceremony, spiritual advisor, if you will, to Wakanda. This character is something that's been written about in the Marvel Universe for, as long as this thing has been around. So you're able to try to see his role as being kind of like the advisor to both T'Chaka and now T'Challa. And so he's getting ready for the battle, and he sips the purple herb, and he has the power stripped away from him. Mm-hmm. So you see, T'Challa and his natural strength, as kind of the civilian strength, and you see M'Baku come with the Jabari tribe, and you're just like, I don't know how this is gonna go. Is he gonna get beat up the first one-on-one combat he had? So and then you see them fighting, and then at some point during this fight scene is revealed this huge drop-off waterfall, and I was just like, if the mountainside wasn't enough, that drop-off waterfall was like, wow. And you see both of their guards kind of getting closer around them as they fight, which was an amazing kind of interesting thing. You had these huge Jabari men on one side, and then you had T'Challa's guard on the other side, ready to go. Yeah, and so that battle ensued. T'Challa did his thing, got the right to the throne, and then he gets to finish the process, which is the part where he drinks from the purple herb again, the heart-shaped herb, covered with sand,
and it's covered with sand. And I think this part is sort of important with the sand, because he's going to the ancestral plane, and it's like they're covering him with the sand. It's like, how else would you visit another place, like that? And so it's like he's being buried to come out on the other side, just when he reawakens, that same thing happens again, where he reawakens to remove the dirt. So it's kind of like a symbolism, like a door. The sand is the door to the ancestral plane. Being covered opens the door to the other ancestral plane, and then once they wake up in the ancestral plane, it's kind of like a good connecting factor. I was like, wow, that was really powerful that they did that. But Black Panther, so T'Challa goes into the ancestral plane to speak with his father, T'Chaka, and ask him about being a king.
Yeah, so when he gets to the ancestral plane, you see him kind of rise up out of the red clay, which is very accurate to the geographic location of Lake Victoria, that red clay, that sand. and he is dusting off himself, and he can't believe where he is, and he approaches a tree. The types of, I don't know what kind of tree it is, but I looked online and I was like, wow, these are the exact kinds of trees. So they, really did their research in terms of the actual species of tree that you end up using. And you see black panthers, about, I would say about at least 5 of them in the tree, and you see their eyes are come that this glow in their eyes, and
the glowing yellow,
and then you see one panther come down from the tree, and his father is revealed to be that panther, and that was one of those oh my god moments, like this is awesome.
And a lot of people made the connection to Lion King, where Simba saw his father, and kind of that the blue and purplish look of the ancestral plane kind of reminded people of the blue clouds of when Simba saw his father and had that conversation. So people were kind of making that connection, which is in a sense that the spirituality and the sense of the afterlife and that thought of the ancestors. So there's a kind of great symbolism for that kind of moment. And
so he talks to him, and he's asking him, what am I gonna do? And I was not prepared for your death. I wasn't prepared to do this. What's going on? And his dad is just like, my son, if you haven't prepared your offspring for your death, then you failed as a father. And that was one of those like quotable moments. Like, let me take my little Wakanda study pack out and write that down, because there were so many amazing quotable moments that really reached past the Marvel Universe into real life. And so that was that. And then he told him to get up, and that he's a king, and that it's hard for a good man to be king. And then boom, you're put back in Wakanda, and you watch T'Challa walk and officially take the throne.
Yes, and so from this moment, he's now the royalty. So now he is able to be briefed on the state of Wakanda and what things are going on. And this is where Eric Killmonger is shown, and this let's see.
Yeah, so it was kind of like within this area of the movie where you met where Marvel Universe fans were reintroduced to Claw, or new fans to the universe were introduced for the first time to this Claw figure, and his witty and corny kind of banter, and his way of doing things, as well as you were introduced to Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, which is the main villain of this film. And
Claw, just for a little bit of history, he made an appearance in Avengers: Age of Ultron, and he was the one that sold the vibranium to Ultron in the movie. And the reason that his arm is the way it is in Black Panther is because of that. Because in Age of Ultron, he literally destroyed his arm for calling him one of Tony Stark's other Iron Men or hollow robots. And so that was the reason that Claw lost his actual arm. And that's the reason where he had the new upgrade.
Yeah, so you watch Michael B. Jordan kind of talk up the museum curator, saying, "Oh, I like these artifacts."
Asking her, just giving, this is a kind of funny thing, because he was doing a fact check on her. He's like, "Oh, what do you know? Tell me about this. Tell me about that." It's usually, kind of the other foot trying to see what you know, but he's trying to see what she knows, because at this point, he's looking at something that he has a connection to. So he's like, "Oh, actually, you're wrong about this one."
So that's when we kind of have like what's going on, and that's when the film is going to hit a shift. There's going to be a change. So he's like, you got all these cameras watching me. You've been watching me since I walked in here.
But you ain't pay attention to what's going into your body.
I was like, people in the film like, So that was just a funny moment. And then from there, she begins to pass out, and he's getting the paramedics over there. The lady at the snack stand is like, "I'm taking my break right now." We all can relate. Like, girl, I'll be out of there too. Something's going down. But then you see Claw rush in with the paramedics, and they kill everybody basically.
Yeah, you see that it was a setup pretty much, and just how it goes down in that conversation there, and then he discovers that it's vibranium, that it's real. And that they have this deal, so you're just like, here's Claw, here's Eric, and then there's this mask, and he sees and he says, "Oh, I'm just feeling it." And in the actual comic, that mask is what the original Eric Killmonger or the character Killmonger wore in the comics. So that was kind of like they're connecting or paying homage to the canon or to the original source material. And that does happen throughout this movie because there are some things that have been changed with liberties for the better and for the development of the film because the time in which Black Panther was written, it's been around for 50 years. It was originally written with, I believe, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and then in the early 90s, a new writer came on, and then the early 2000s, another writer came on. So it's been around for a while, and the story has had some changes. So that development was a bit of a change in there, but it was just a cool kind of, oh yeah, there's a mask that Killmonger wore in the comics, so something for like the old school fans. So they make their escape from there, and then you get the briefing with T'Challa, and he finds out about this from Okoye. She's giving the briefing, telling him about what's going on, and that this artifact is out there, and that there's getting ready to be a deal for it. And so they're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to South Korea to get this done. And you see T'Challa go over to the laboratory for Shuri, and this is where you get to see her and kind of like her intellect.
Yeah. So she goes to the laboratory, and she's asking him, what do you want to take with you, and kind of showing him the suits and things. And then you kind of see more of that brother-sister relationship really go forward, and you start to see the tech really behind the suit. It was then where you learned that the suit fits within the entire teeth of the necklace, and he's picked that stealthy silver color so that he can remain under the radar. And you learn about the suit. You learn that the suit actually redistributes any force that it encounters, which is especially useful in combat with guns because he's unaffected by bullets. I mean, like, he's literally the perfect superhero. I mean, runs at 50 miles per hour. Like, just all these different factors that make him the ultimate superhero, being able to defend Wakanda. So,
because that was kind of one of the cool things, like when Luke Cage came out. This is from the Netflix part of the Marvel comic universe, where it's like it's a bulletproof black man that's wearing a hoodie, and so like it kind of brings back that theme a little bit of the bulletproofness of his suit, and that the fruit and how it gives him the super strength and the heightened senses and the heightened abilities. That just is a total package. It just makes it like, whoa, he's doing all these things with this amazing suit of vibranium.
Yeah.
And so you see that, and then they're off to South Korea, and Nakia is taking the lead, and they're on one of these night markets, which is fairly popular throughout Asian culture. There's some night markets, so it's like I think it was like a night fish market per se. So she goes up there and she's talking with the older woman at the door, and she's getting a bit of a hard time because she caused a bit of trouble before, but then eventually gets in. And goes through the metal detectors, and they have nothing on their persons. And so you go in and you see this casino, and a lot of people say like the setup was like James Bond, reminded me of James Bond. So for you, did you feel like it kind of set up that like James Bond kind of spy feel with the gadgets and just kind of like how they were being secretive?
Yeah, I mean, definitely gave me James Bond. I mean, from the time that I saw how T'Challa was dressed and Okoye were dressed in their outfits, I was like, oh, it's definitely James Bond all the way. I mean, that's the feeling I got. And then kind of like when they got in there, they were able to see, here's some Americans here. Oh, here's my old friend from the CIA. Okay, this thing's really going down. And good thing we're here. But then that's when you have kind of Claw comes in. He rolls up in like 4 black SUVs, his whole like convoy and this whole thing. And
he went, and like talking about like with the lady, and then so basically like the lady, when Claw shows up, he goes up to the woman and he gets a kiss on the cheek, kind of like the air kiss on the cheek, and he walks in
through the metal detector.
Everybody is going off. And I was like, that's an interesting symbolic thing, because like they didn't have anything on them, and their metal detector didn't go off. But then you have all these guys with going off the metal detectors, clearly flashing red for 5-6 guys walking through. So it was like, the interesting flip of things where he's just like he gets to go through with weapons and everything, but they're weaponless.
Yeah, I mean that definitely is real, and I think for ourselves, just trying to give like honestly another YouTube channel that we've always watched really a plug. If you look up Winter Lao Wai in China, like black guy from New York City's been living in China over 10 years. He literally gives you news as well as black perspective, as well as just in general understanding of the core kind of principles that kind of govern China. I mean, so to speak. But I mean, we really go over to Asia, and you're there as a black person, you kind of realize you're like, wow, so that scene was really real for us.
Yeah.
Having lived in China before and lived in Asia, and really saw the dynamic that does exist when you're, African versus, what we consider a person from an actual Western nation, because usually they don't think that people of our complexion live anywhere but on the continent of Africa. Which just shows the lack of education and things, blah, 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 of Asian countries. But yeah, back to the movie. Yeah, that was super dope scene.
And the fight scene with it was a tight space. You can just see like all the actuals going on. Tables are flying, bullets are going everywhere. The deal is going bad. So, all these things are happening. And, you have this moment where T'Challa's getting ready to catch Claw. And, he's like, not so close. And gets out of there when he shoots the safe and blows it up, and he talks about he's like, I made it rain. So just like it was so many subtle one-liners in the movie that after seeing it the second time we kind of caught a couple more because there was like one-liners for the culture for sure.
Oh yeah, and I think that this was the scene in the movie that we were like, okay, Okoye. So, like, this whole general thing is not a game. Like, you're going to really be out here kicking butt this time. So,
she used the wig as a weapon. She hit the one guy with the staff and then was like, bow, and hit him too. Like, I was like, hey, that's so
It was
lit.
dope. It was dope. So then, Claw basically brings out the vibranium from his trouser. We're like, of course, right? Of course, this is how Claw would do it. And that's when they also kind of realize in that same moment that they've been made, that this deal's not going to go on. So the fighting ensues, all the action in that scene, and then Claw's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm out, and he hops in his car, and you see Nakia, who's played like Lupita Nyong'o, drive a car where also
Okoye throws like a little device on the other car and says like he'll catch up.
Yeah, so and you see Okoye get in the whip too, and then you literally see T'Challa ghost ride the whip.
Literally, he's ghost riding the whip like that. Like this is the because there was a remote connection, but there's no driver there. Nobody seeing. So T'Challa, like she said, he is literally ghost riding the whip.
Yes, and you see Shuri in the lab when they flashed her. She's so excited. She's like, "Yes, it's action. I'm ready."
Mm-hmm.
And so you see kind of this Fast and Furious kind of drive scene ensue. This chase with two cars chasing the one kind of convoy of vehicles. And you see some really cool stuff. You get to see Okoye use her staff to stop a car and flip it over.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to see how gutsy she is. She's like, forget this. I'm going to climb out and get on top of the car and do this. Mm-hmm. As well as you get to see T'Challa's own strength. His claws made of vibranium. His sister didn't know she was going to go. He's like, I got you, sis. Digs his claws into the cement as he basically holds the car with his other arm and gets them to where they got to go. And so the chase ensues, and they are this close to getting Claw and taking him to back to
Wakanda. Yeah.
He slips out of their hands, and they're at the CIA office where they kind of just
because I wanted to talk about that a little bit because when they catch him, it was an important thing because at that moment he said, every moment that you breathe is my mercy. Like he's like saying like, I'm letting you live right now. But he had to realize in that moment that the eyes of the world were watching. So whereas he wanted to enact swift justice, he necessarily couldn't because it wouldn't look favorable for him and I. So that's why they're like, all right, let's just get out of here. And yeah.
Flashes and kind of connects to present day where videotaping and cell phones of people that are in positions where they're supposed to protect people are being scrutinized and things. So in that moment, T'Challa doesn't escape that. He becomes a part of, this, are you going to do the right thing? What's going on?
Yeah.
And what it's going to look like. What does it look like when a black man is on camera against a white man? Does it ever really look like what we thought it looked like? And we know that he's delivering justice, but for the seekers and the watchers, they're like, hold up. Yeah. He beat him up. This is not right.
Right. So, like this car just flipped over, 20 feet in the air, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on?"
He drops him, and the CIA arrests them, and they get him back to the precinct, and then you see, Claw in the questioning room, and his antics begin again. Yeah. You see the comedy of his character and how he really pushes the envelope of just anything inappropriate, basically, and you see the CIA agent talk to T'Challa and Okoye and discuss what he wants to do with this character. And this is when we
when he touched his hand on the shoulder.
Yes.
And like the conversation when she spoke in Scosa and was saying, I'm
gonna impale him.
I'm gonna impale him to that table if he touches you again. And that's just like, it was kind of like showing her ferocity and just her loyalty to the crown. That you're touching royalty right there. You're not touching any guy, and I'm not gonna take it lightly.
Yeah. So the goal for obviously Wakanda was to get Claw back to Wakanda. They don't care what the U.S. government wants with it. Whatever. We want to get him back to Wakanda. That's where he will stand trial. And it was pretty much clear from the time that they were in office that the CIA was really not trying to let that happen. They were like, no, I don't want to. Let him out of our custody. We're doing you guys a favor by letting you be here. And that was like...
Yeah, it's like you obviously don't know what this is. Like, you're actually being honored to even be in the same space. But, that's just how he thought it was. So yeah, I think that was funny. But you saw when he touched his hand on the shoulder, it was like, those... the sound, those, what was it, like the communication devices?
The audio.
Yeah, he stuck one on his shoulder so he could hear what he was saying inside the room. That's how they heard, because, that was what was behind their ear there. So that's how they knew what was being said inside the room. And, Claw was just basically giving them the spiel about everything. Wakanda, all the stuff that they have and all that technology, and, ask him trying to put this angle like, he's got some information that he should tell you. I'm not the one you should be worried about. They got a bunch more. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
He's done the damage, but he's like, I'm going to divert to, look at what's going on over here. Any good villain. So then, you hear him come out and question T'Challa about this vibranium and what really is Wakanda, blah, 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 blah. And... Chadwick Boseman, you're going to believe the word of an arms dealer that's strapped to a chair? You're going to believe the word of this guy? I'm literally trying to come and save the day.
And at the same time, Nakia, she's like, oh, something's up.
Nakia, something's up, yeah. Looks on the camera, sees that there's something going on in the back. And
it's like a loop. She's like, because everything looked like it was looping over.
And then you have Killmonger put some explosives on the back of the building and blew it up. And here's him saving Claw for his own, what he wants to use Claw for. And
I want to come back to that note about the explosives on the wall, too. Oh, no, I'm going to come back to it later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so then you see this kind of fight ensues, kind of some struggling, some shooting with guns and things. And Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa comes out back and tries to literally get Claw back throughout this van.
And gets hit with a grenade launcher.
And gets hit with the grenade launcher that puts him out. But right before you see kind of like Killmonger kind of disappear, you see the ring around the necklace. And that's kind of a key point in the film. You see the first kind of glimmer of the connection that will soon be fully... you will fully understand later. You see the direct connection between Eric Killmonger and Wakanda, and it was pretty strong. I mean, we didn't know at that moment, but
because at the time he sees the necklace, and he sees that there was like a ring attached to that necklace.
Yeah,
and that was a significant because it like sets up like the next part where.
Oh yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, where it sets up for him going back.
Okay. Yeah. So. After that scene where, they get him out of the CIA and now Claw and, Killmonger are doing their thing.
But Ross, what was it? He took a shot for Nakia, and this is what sets up him being able to go to Wakanda because, he dived and took a shot for her. He dived and took a shot for her, and that set up for him going back to Wakanda.
Yes. So... He, is taken to Wakanda, and you see him kind of revealed in Wakanda on a kind of levitating hospital bed of sorts, and they're walking down the hallway. Shuri comes out. She's so excited. Wow, great! Another broken white boy for us to fix, and that sent everybody.
The movie theater was laughing.
Yeah. That was one of those kind of like punchlines from the movie you want to write down in your notebook kind of thing. And
what was it? Wakabi.
Yeah,
Wakabi comes in, but they're empty-handed.
Yes, Wakabi comes in empty-handed, and Wakabi also does not know at this point that there's a CIA, a foreigner to Wakanda in Wakanda getting worked on. So, she sees T'Challa run up the ramp and try to get up there and talk to him. He's like, I'm sorry, he slipped of our grips. And there you can see kind of the disappointment on Wakabi's face. And Wakabi is already thinking, what can I now do? Or what do I need to do to change kind of what's going on? Because this is not going to work out,
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that, you didn't bring Black Claw. That was your word, So, T'Challa feels, responsible to Wakabi and Wakanda for not bringing back Claw. So,
this is like,
from there, Shuri now heals Asia Ross and fixes his vertebrae with the cool little thing, and he wakes up and he's like, where am I at? Where am I?
Mm-hmm.
What is going on here? He's questioning all these things, and Shuri's like, calm down, my brother will be back, he'll talk to you, you'll figure it out from there with him.
And so now you go to that conversation that T'Challa's having with Zuri about basically what happened, and that betrayal of what happened, and this is where you kind of discover of what makes Killmonger, what is driven this darkness or whatever that he may have, and he was basically abandoned, unintentionally by his father, but as a fault of his father's choices, the father was was killed, and so that dynamic and him not understanding that, and this is where you kind of understand about Eric's background, and he was an orphan, but he went to MIT. He was also in the army, and he was like
bred the American way.
Yeah, and so like you see this background, so he has all this combat training, but MIT is not for anyone that's not ticking upstairs. So that means he had some level of intellect, a high amount of intellect, because MIT, usually the best and the brightest go to the school for whatever that may be. And that was what I was talking about with the explosives, that maybe those explosives was something that he made, because, they never said exactly what his role was in army besides his killing. So, maybe he had some explosive skills, and, that was kind of like maybe a show of his intellect of creating that in that placement.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that even within... if you look at Killmonger as just being like this character of being the villain, I mean, so many moviegoers can relate to Killmonger. He is the personification of Black in America, and
rage,
the character for the rage, the confusion, the misunderstanding, the frustration of really understanding these things is something that Killmonger channeled very well in his role, and he really allowed himself to be a part of that kind of thought process. I mean, we all felt his rage and his pain, and so you kind of see his graphic come up, and that's when you see Agent Ross kind of next to Shuri saying, "No, he's not one of you. He's one of us. He's one of us, right? He's one of us,
Yeah, and this is where it cuts to like kind of like a crazy scene, and this is where Eric and Claw are discussing the payment, and just drop me off in Wakanda, and he was like, oh, you don't want to go back there, and he's like, not understanding,
I don't really care, I want to go, so I'm about to shoot you now.
So he take out the pilot, and then Claw grabs the girlfriend of Killmonger, and at this moment he's like, she's trying to say she's sorry, he's like he understands, he's like, it's gonna be okay, and he shoots her. Like, it wasn't Claw.
I couldn't tell. Yeah.
It wasn't Claw. Eric Killmonger shoots her to get to Claw.
By any means necessary.
And that was a theme of his, throughout the movie, of kind of that. and that was kind of like his just disregard for life per se, um, because of just all the killing that he has done. So that's kind of a reoccurring theme as you get into different parts of the film, for Killmonger. But yeah, he kills her and he chases down Claw, and he basically gets him in a corner, and Claw's like, you what are you going there for? They're not gonna welcome you. You're an outsider. And then he shows him the tattoo of the war dogs on his inside of his lip, and that was significant because knowing that he's been to Wakanda, knowing what that means, he's like, oh, this guy's pretty much played me from the beginning. He got his end.
Yeah, no, he has the war dog tattoos, but this is his Wakanda ID in his lip, right?
That is the war dog. That thing under the lip is the war dog tattoo.
Okay.
That's for anybody that's a spy of Wakanda. They call them war dogs, and that's what it is in their lip.
Oh, I thought all the Wakandans had it. Okay.
No, this is for the spies. This is how they acknowledge.
So like Nakia and.
Yeah, so for those people on the field, so if they go to see somebody out there and they're somehow speaking a language of theirs, they're going to ask them who they are, and if they don't show them that, then they're a liar. So that's the thing. So it's kind of like a way for spies to show who they are. But yeah, he revealed that to him, and so at this moment he's like, all right, yeah, I pretty much got played, and to his advantage, here comes Killmonger, dropping off. But before
something. That, you kind of see the progression of T'Challa and W'Kabi's relationship. They're talking about, T'Challa going to get back with Nakia, and he's tending to his rhinos, his beastie rhinos at his ranch, and showing that kind of relationship. And then it pans to, this is kind of some scenes happen, and then you have, him delivering Claw to Wakanda, and kind of like hog-tied bag, and just that savage moment where he cuts it open and you see Claw's like eyes rolling back in his head, and he's right there, and W'Kabi's like, what's happening right now?
Yeah, because this is we don't know who this guy is, so this is his his chance, and so he gets in the throne room and he's basically like, y'all don't know who I am, but I know who y'all are, and basically, y'all looking like y'all living comfortable while everybody out here is struggling. That moment sat with me a little bit because it was like, whoa, like he's taking this chance to question of where were they and why weren't they there to help the people of the diaspora. And this it's kind of like, I feel it's like a question that I found myself asking sometimes in the past. Where was that? What was that dynamic? Before knowing now of just kind of the whole dynamic of that. That's one of those questions that without the information, you can kind of go anywhere with it. So, that's definitely a part of it there. But yeah, he's in the throne room, and here comes another one of those lines with the "Hey Auntie," because he's like, yeah, I'm basically here to challenge for the throne, and I want that spot, and I don't even need all the formalities. I just need him there because I'm about to get this done. And he accepts his challenge.
The Kendrick music comes up.
Yeah, exactly. The Kendrick comes up. The beats in there,
and then we see the mountain of tribes again, and it I don't care how many times you show that scene, every time I'm like, this is so beastie. This mountain of just black amazingness, like all these different hair textures and styles of being. I'm even seeing the plates and the lips, and oh my god, just so beautiful. So,
and it was cool to me because I knew that this wasn't just some character design for this film, that for both of us, that we've seen these things just from our own little research that we've done ourselves, and that these were actual representations of different tribes,
present day,
and present day, and some of the symbolisms and the symbols on their clothing had a connection to that as well. So we get to the throne, and this is where he makes the challenge to him. So T'Challa is getting ready to go up against Killmonger, and they're sizing each other up. And this is another important part where you kind of understand a bit more about Killmonger and his approach, because he reveals the reason and the places of why he has all those body modifications on there on his body, and all the kills that he did, and saying that he's killed all over the world, even in the continent of Africa, and just hearing the pain that when he says that there's some level of where he thought about it, but it still didn't deter him, so it was one of those kind of like reflective moments, even when he reveals of all those kills.
He's like, but I did it all to get here, and let's get it on, and in that moment we realize his pain and motivation, but we realize the big flaw there as well, right? We realize the connection and the misunderstanding that had occurred in his own understanding of the world and Wakanda's connection to it, that led him to this spot where we're frustrated, honestly. We're like, go, Killmonger, because we understand what you want, but no, not against Wakanda.
Yeah, and it's that kind of like you're feeling his pain and his aggression and leading up to that, but this is where you meet that pass where you're like, not necessarily this way, and so you kind of see, like she said, the flaws in his thought process in that, but it still has validity. They never invalidated his pain or his emotion of what he felt. It was shown and projected that you knew that he was in a wrong per se, but that it wasn't like something that they needed to tear down or strip away. That that's something that was just a part of his character that he embodied, especially with the Oakland background and that Oakland connection to the director, Ryan Coogler. So it's like that, those kind of connecting things with the story. He got to add a little bit of himself in there in such a small way, but an important part to the story. And we get to this battle. The battle ensues. Pretty much you see Eric give the business to Black Panther. He's basically just showing him that all of his training and everything, that he was there for a reason. You know why I'm here. And so that battle happens, and he takes T'Challa, and I did a little bit of research about that, and this scene is actually a pivotal scene in the comic, and this is where T'Challa gets thrown off of the waterfall. Yeah. And
everybody's nah, we're all
silent. It was so silent.
Yes, and that's your emotion went downhill extremely. You didn't know what to do. You're conflicted. You're confused, and you see Killmonger begin to take the throne, and this suspicion, but also an excitement, I would say, and seeing what he's going to do when he takes the throne.
And there's one significant thing. So the battle when it first happened for T'Challa, yes, there was definitely MLK and Malcolm X vibes between Killmonger and T'Challa. That vibe that they had there was kind of something that they approached similar to what Professor X and Magneto, and it was like that kind of at odds, and they took that and added the culture and added the story, and made it to this modern time, and you really get that MLK Malcolm X dynamic from those characters. So you saw like the source of kind of like that X-Men rivalry, and they kind of added that Black Panther story to it, and you can really see out those vibes of the MLK and Malcolm X in that, and the opposition that they have to things is something that kind of grows apparent as the movie progresses.
Yeah, so at this moment you see Killmonger take the throne. I'm not gonna lie, Killmonger was an amazing character, so when he was taking that throne, I was still excited. I was like, okay, well, let's see what's going to go down. Obviously, it's not going to be good, but it's still beastie to watch him walk up to the throne and take it, because, that was kind of our perspective as, I think, from the African-American perspective. We're like, hold up, okay, then, something's happening here. So he takes the throne, and he's like, this is my plan. I've learned from the colonizers. This is what you need to do to destabilize the government, to take over a place, and that's his whole goal, is to take over the entire world and rule it like Wakanda, which is good, but the way he wants to do it is not the Wakandan way.
Yeah, and the significance I was saying was like in the first ceremony when he was becoming king, it was sunrise, and when he went against the battle against Killmonger the second time, it was a sunset. And so some people were saying that this is a sort of a way for you to show that the sun is setting down on the Wakandan Empire, which is like a symbolism that there's going to be a change of king. And so even with that being sundown, that kind of opened it up. So when Killmonger became king, you saw that the sun was down on the old Wakanda way, and this kind of new way of Wakanda.
And he says the sun will never set on Wakanda, which is a the sun will never set on the British
Wakanda Empire.
Yes, yeah, Wakanda Empire, which is something that the Brits have said. The sun will never set on the British Empire. You know, you've heard these things in real life, occur, and so.
And in that moment when he was sitting in that chair, he took that moment to really question them. Where were you when all these people were being hurt? You have all this technology, you have all this wealth, all these people out here in pain. Where were you at? The questions that
we asked.
Yeah.
Was anybody supposed to come get us? Were people supposed to come after us and save us from the things that occurred in history? Where were they at? And he was asking those questions, and there was kind of fell on confused ears. Honestly, it seemed like most of the royal family was just like, "I'm so sorry, I don't know, I'm sorry," and they're at the mercy of Eric Killmonger now. They're like, "Okay, I got to do what I got to do," and this is where you also see Okoye and her unwavering commitment to Wakanda. She comes and meets with Nakia. Nakia's trying to convince her to go with them. She's like, "No, I'm staying." And you see them meeting.
Oh, it's still a little bit more before that.
Yeah.
So in the meeting when he sits down with them, I think it was a kind of a cool thing that since he was an American, when you see Killmonger's character, there's trap beats being played. So they because like when T'Challa, whenever there was like scenes for the fanfare, the drums, it had that regal kind of sound, and like the horns, dun, 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 all that. But when it was I was just talking about the orchestra sounds. And then when it came to Killmonger, it was like the trap beat, so it kind of gave that like an American feel to it. So you kind of could hear the difference in their approach when you saw them on screen with that music. So there was a distinction and even a music when he was king, and you would see those moments in a movie.
Yeah. And so in that meeting, you saw for the first time Okoye opposite her husband W'Kabi, disagreeing on how Wakanda should move forward. Wakanda's been preserved by us not, going to war with outside nations. And then he saying that it's a new day, and I'm frustrated. Honestly, the person who's supposed to bring me cloth did not, but our new king did bring me cloth, so I'm going to show you that my loyalty is to him. And in the next few scenes, we see that, Okoye is like, well, I have an unwavering commitment to Wakanda, whoever has the throne, and that's what I'm going to do. And so we're all like, no, Okoye, don't do it, girl.
And so, like, what happens is, they're in the throne room, and Killmonger is, talking about the attacks. Where should they go first? And so he says London, Hong Kong, and New York. And this is another Marvel Comic Universe connection because I think this alludes to Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange, those are the three main cities that were the Guardian cities for the group of people in Doctor Strange. And those were the same cities that were attacked. And with the timeline of 92 and this being years after that, that falls right into the Doctor Strange kind of timeline with those attacks. So kind of those weapons that they were talking about being used and just how the destructive power.
Yeah.
You saw that in Doctor Strange and how they had such a difficult time dealing with those weapons and how destructive they were. So that movie kind of showed you the power of the weapons before you even seen Black Panther, but you don't really know that until you kind of connect the dots. So that's like that Doctor Strange connection there.
Yeah, and then you see the powerful scene where Killmonger is receiving the power of Black Panther,
and he has to be buried.
The root, and he has to go back to his ancestral plane. And wow, so he goes back to his ancestral plane, and his is an apartment
in Oakland.
Oakland.
The outside has the look like T'Challa's, but it is inside of an apartment. The T'Challa's beautiful ancestral planet in this apartment.
Yeah, showing a kind of personification of what we've experienced. What's the extent of our reality here in America versus the extent of the reality of our ancestors and brothers and sisters that are in diaspora, especially ones that have had grown up in their respective country with their respective tribe, being able to look back and be rich. It was something that was really powerful to me in that moment was when he first got to the apartment, there was nobody there.
Yeah.
It wasn't until he opened the book and started looking to his father's things that his father was revealed, and there was a tension even there. He was, what are you doing why are you looking at my things? You shouldn't be looking at my things. What are you doing? And you just see Michael B saying, well, I found your home, and you can tell he's happy to report back about this. But at the same time, we're then kind of struck with this contrasting his father. What happens? He wants to know what happens because he dies. And he's like, everybody dies here.
Yeah, he asked them, are there no tears? And he said, no, everybody dies here, so I don't have any tears. And that, and Sterling K. Brown.
Oh my God! Listen,
amazing. That the opening scene, and even to this, that he cries because he realizes that the kind of the conversation that T'Chaka had with T'Challa, that is a similar situation where he felt that he didn't prepare him for his death, and that was that tear because all he sees is the pain that his son has in that moment. And it was really powerful because it wouldn't have it made so much sense to see that he was still trapped by the bounds of that place. His spirit wasn't leaving that area. He wasn't able to have the proper burial to be able to go to that tree in that area. His passing was trapped in that area, so that it was kind of powerful that was the only meeting place that they had.
Unlike T'Challa, when he came back from visiting his ancestral plane, he wasn't motivated in a positive light. He came back and you just saw the anger, and then he told him to burn all the lotus root. I'm not the lotus root.
The heart shape, the purple
heart-shaped root.
Yeah.
And I literally, at that moment, I was like, I couldn't believe that he told him to do it. But then you realize why he did, because he was told that, we do this for the next king. He's like, what? I'll be the last king. He doesn't. It's his. It's his way.
He only sees the power and his lust for power. And at this moment, this is where Nakia.
Yeah.
And this is where it comes in. So go ahead and talk about Okoye and Nakia.
Yeah. So you have the exchange between Nakia and Okoye, where Nakia is trying to convince Okoye that this is the time that you actually do betray your nation, and you do ask what's happening, what's going on, and you try to dethrone the person, just dethrone them. And so they end up just going at it, and she's like, nope, I'm gonna honor Wakanda. She's like, fine, and she goes on, and so she kind of sneaks in the back of the ceremony for Killmonger and steals one of the heart-shaped herb, and she approaches the Jabari tribe. She has a plan to approach this tribe, and she knows it's dangerous. And this is when we're introduced to where the Jabari live, and my gosh, those visuals on the mountain and just the strength of just that tribe and all that they were kind of personified to be in this film was just amazing. The visuals on that were crazy. So we saw the Jabari tribe, and they were crazy and scary. But you saw the throne. I mean, the way it had the bamboo just like hanging, and then you see M'Baku on his throne, and they're approaching him and asking him for some help here, begging him basically, to help them.
Yeah, and this is the this is an important pivotal moment, because then he kind of reveals to them that, oh, I've had T'Challa here, and I don't know how to save him, but basically I'm keeping him on this snow, and that's the only way it's keeping him alive right now.
And you have to love how amazing M'Baku is in his way that he's ruling his Jabari. He's very relentless leader. He's very strong and just very like, this is the way it goes and this is the way the Jabari do it. And so he takes the heart-shaped herb and they cover him with snow, and you see him kind of look at Agent Ross like, turn around, let's give them some privacy, so to speak, which was really amazing show of just how how the respect is from tribe to tribe and their things. And he visits his ancestral plane, but this time what's powerful was that when he got there, he wasn't looking at the tree. He was looking at his ancestors who were walking with Black Panthers, and they were walking towards him. And his dad says, basically, "You're coming. Are you here? You're here to join us.
Yeah, you're ready to join us."
Like, and we're like, "No, he's not. He's not."
Yeah,
and he
rejects the fact that you're like, no, I'm not dying here. I still have something to do.
And he condemns them in that moment. You all are wrong for the way you've ruled and not helped out others. You all were wrong to not bring that boy back to Wakanda. And that's a question that we all, I think African Americans always ask ourselves. What could it have been like if we were rescued or saved from?
If we were returned, or what if we were never taken away? / what if we were returned? And that kind of dynamic there is interesting, and also that conversation that it's a conversation of generations as well. T'Challa represents the new generation, and T'Chaka represents the previous generation, and like this is kind of like that conversation you wish you could have with someone that represents the past of, you guys are wrong and you didn't get this right, and I have a chance to make a chance with this, so I want to do what's right by this. Like, you don't get to have that conversation with the people of the past and say, let's do it this way. I'm gonna right the path to do the right thing, and he awakens.
Yeah, and so Shuri has his necklace in her coat and gives it to him. He assumes the Black Panther, and you see him coming back into the movie as he shoots down a airplane basically, and he lands on top of it, and he's all beastie. He comes out of the smoke, and in that same moment you saw like Killmonger kind of shift on what's going on, and they all begin to run towards the wreckage of this ship and realize that the true king of Wakanda is back.
Yep, and that the challenge isn't over, and you see that this is where the dissension begins. He tells W'Kabi to basically attack T'Challa, and in this moment, he's thinking, do I side with my friend, the person that I've known, or do I side with the kingdom, the throne? Because that was a theme throughout it, that loyalty to the throne. Okoye, really embodied and kind of vocalized that of the loyalty that. So, and in that moment, he went off to attack T'Challa, and Okoye questioned his leadership and said, you have so much hatred in your heart. And she was very loyal to the throne, but at that moment she snapped out of it and knew that he had so much hatred, and that for him to direct that command, that he was no one worthy of that throne. And so, they go on to the attack, and this is another that theme of power and the feminism. She makes the authoritative, assertive decision that I'm taking you out because you're not doing what's right by us now. And so, she rounds up her troops and goes on an attack.
Yeah, and then you see Nakia and Shuri in the lab getting their armor on, getting some tools to go out, and then they begin to just go directly at Killmonger.
Yeah, and Killmonger and his suit. So there's a little Marvel little history with this. So the necklace, the gold necklace, and then the silver necklace. So the silver one is more of a new model. The actual gold necklace is the original Black Panther necklace. But this also is a connection to the changing of Marvel's universe, with the old version and new version. So this is like them giving Black Panther a chance to have a new look, and that's why he went a little more toned down. But with that necklace, when Killmonger transformed, if you can see faintly, there's leopard spots, and that alludes to his character in the comic book, which he had a pet leopard named Prey with 2 Y's, Preyy, Prey the leopard, And then also the connection that Black Panther was originally going to be named Black Leopard, but they just decided on Black Panther because it had a better name. So it's kind of connecting those two things and putting homage. So this was one of those paying homage to the previous the canon or the source material. So his suit actually looked like a leopard. So it was like Black Panther versus Black Leopard, and those spots that were in the armor. There's a little bit of reflection in that too.
Yeah, so we almost thought, Killmonger was going to get taken down when Okoye and her guard kind of had him in that like formation with the spears, and he broke out of that. Then you see Shuri kind of going at him, the kid going at him. They both couldn't get it. In the moment where kind of you're like, no, he's about to kill Shuri. He can't kill little sister. You see T'Challa kind of shake off the damage, and everybody uses that power in his suit to blast all of the W'Kabi's tribe off of him and away from him, and he goes and saves his sister, and he ensues the one-on-one.
But before we get to that 1-1, we gotta talk about those rhinos. They made an appearance, and it was so cool to see that because you just saw them as docile, over there eating food, and then they were battle ready and they were there, mixing it up, and so you had the army there fighting, you had W'Kabi's men there fighting, you also had the Jabari tribe they're fighting, and among this chaos, and it was so cool to see those rhinos in there because that was another important moment in the comic. There was actually a series, or I think it was the one version where this rhino went loose and he had to tame it in, and this is from the comic, and so they kind of brought that into the film. And it was it was kind of like another payback kind of cool thing for the classic fans.
Yeah,
I think they fall down to that hole.
Yeah, they fall down. Well, at the end of that rhino scene, you see the kind of defining boss moment for Okoye. The rhino is charging towards M'Baku, and she begins to stand in front of him as to defend him or defend Wakanda, whatever it takes. And she realizes that's when W'Kabi realizes at that point that his wife is not playing with. This is what it is, she's defending Wakanda to the death of it. Yeah. And will he kill his own wife? No. So he gets off and he asks them, would you kill me for Wakanda? And she says, yeah, without question. And that's like one of those quotables from the movie that everybody can see. But that also, I think, can stretch further. I mean, it just shows, like, within the Black community, how instrumental Black women have been through every step in our ascent to, whatever we're ascending to in America, at least. From that perspective, I mean, this year was kind of like the year of the Black woman in terms of the non-election of certain figures that shouldn't be in office, or shouldn't have ever been in office. But yeah, then you see them.
I was going to talk about that dynamic because that dynamic was an important reoccurring theme of like the community and the feminism there. Because when she stands there, the rhino approaches her, and the rhino didn't even touch her, just like licked her face because it was just showing that. Oh, I respect you. I know who you are. I'm not doing anything to go against you. Like that, even the rhino knows that she is of importance. That not even just a general, but that she is somebody to be respected. And when he comes down off of the rhino, and like she said, the question that he asked, it was important at that moment. And when he dropped his weapon, if you notice in the background, all of the men dropped their weapons, and all of the men, and only the women of the army are standing. And that's a symbolism of the power of the Black woman in the community, and that he realized, I'm tripping right now. I'm tripping, and let me step down and stop all this, because he looks and he just sees his country in dismay. And it's this small kind of civil war among themselves, and he is kind of like a recollection that I am causing this when I could have made a different decision. And so putting his weapon down is like his active choice to stop his hand and Killmonger's reign. These people are reverting and kind of saying like, no, we're not taking the Killmonger way. This is not how we're doing it. We do it the Wakandan way.
Yes. And so then you see Killmonger and T'Challa go fight on the magnetic rail for Wakanda. That was like I think the fall.
It was so silent in the theater. Like you could hear a pin drop in there because everybody was just like, and you could just that ambient air sound of them falling and just the different hits, and then when they finally hit the bottom, it's like whoa, like
Yeah, and so they begin fighting, and then he said, Shuri, turn on the magnetic red rail. She's like, but that would depower your suits, and then you're like wondering why T'Challa, because you just got basically killed before when you didn't have your power. So why do this again?
Mm-hmm.
It just shows T'Challa's amazingness as a person, and he's like, okay, yes,
he's courageous. Yeah,
I want to do whatever I got to do, and the only way he knows that he can truly talk to Killmonger is for them both to be stripped of their power. It's the only time he's listening. So this fight scene ensues, and eventually Killmonger gets stabbed in the chest.
Yeah, and in this fight, you kind of get a little more understanding of Killmonger and why and what he's doing and why he's doing it and what's driven him to this point. And like you were saying, that shows some of his heroism for T'Challa, but it also shows some of what makes Killmonger's his approach. And so that battle there, like, with when the turning on the Maglev and talking about like the vulnerabilities, and he literally made them physically vulnerable, but he was also searching for an emotional vulnerability because he knew that he couldn't necessarily fight Killmonger, straight on. He pretty much, tried it twice and wasn't successful. So he knew that he needed something else. So that when he's looking at the magnetic rail, that was kind of like the way to aid him. And that actually goes back into the comic because actually in the comic he has such a hard time fighting Killmonger, and he actually does need some assistance in the comic of defeating Killmonger. So it's kind of alluding back to that without exactly having like a actual person come in and intervene, because this was the battle between them.
I think we should save this because it's getting by the 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
So then after
we're gonna talk.
After Killmonger is stabbed in the chest, he takes him to this viewing point till he can view the most beautiful sunrise.
Because the father told him that the most beautiful sunrises were in Wakanda, and he never got to see that. And so he's like, I feel like a fool being from Oakland and believing in this fairy tale of this mythical place where everybody's black and it's technology and all this incredible things and everybody's strong and independent and all these things that seem fairy tale-ish to him because he's from Oakland. So that's another thing that helps you understand like what he was thinking. So that scene, very powerful.
Yeah, and that's also one of those quotables that people write down in their notebook. When he removes the sword that's keeping him alive, and he's like saying, I would rather die and join my ancestors who jumped from the ships because they know that even death is better than bondage. And that was one of those kind of like chills over your body in the theater. The chills for everybody who ever watched the movie probably felt when he said that. And then you see T'Challa and Nakia hanging out in Wakanda. The happy Wakanda is back, kind of briefly touching on their little love they got going. But we're going to we can talk about the real T'Challa love thing in the future on a different live stream, but
and so T'Challa goes back to Oakland, and he's talking about this building, and this is where our uncle was killed. Talking with Shuri, and she's like, oh, good, well, they're tearing that place down. I was like, no, they're not tearing it down. I'm buying this, I'm buying that building, and I bought that one, and that was kind of like that black ownership. He's taking the reins instead of that mistake being removed and erased from memories. He's taking that place, and he's gonna do something with it positive. So he's taking a place that had such tragedy and turning it into something positive. And them coming back to that housing area and that court is significant because that's what opened the movie, was children playing a basketball court. So this is kind of a changing of time, because this is another thing with the daytime nighttime thing. They were playing at night in the beginning of the movie, but at the end of the movie they're playing in the daytime. So this is kind of like a symbolism for a new day or a new chance for Wakanda to kind of atone for some of the things that they kind of missed in the past, and that this is their jump into the world to show like, okay, we're ready to become part of things here.
Yeah, and they established the first international Wakanda aid center, and Shuri is pretty much the leader of that. But now we can take some question and answer. If people are still here, if not, then we can save it for a future video.
Oh, there's people here.
Cool.
So yeah, any questions that you may have?
Yeah, let's just go back to that. Pop. Yep, that's on it.
Any questions that you may want to ask? Any statements? We can kind of just like talk about those. Some of your feelings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching. It's kind of cool doing these things and trying to just like stay connected with people. But just thank you for watching. Yeah, appreciate the views. However that may be. We're always happy to be able to talk and connect with people. Yeah, so we'll see. Anyone?
Hang on for a few minutes.
Well, yeah.
So,
I mean, because I'll be here, chatting it up and stuff. So,
oh,
you know, I'll be on the stream for a little bit. But I want to just chat with people a little bit.
oh yeah. I was just thinking we should get some dinner because anyway. So we can stay for a little bit longer. You want to see? Because I can't see the chat bubble. See if somebody chimed in. Here we go. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think some future live streams are going to kind of go more into like the connections to today, some things about talking about race and political things today, as well as the influence of the movie. We're going to talk about some of the creative minds behind the soundtrack, costumes.
Oh
things of that
yeah,
nature.
yeah.
So those will be some kind of future topics that we'll do. We'll probably just do regular videos on those. I think try to keep them short, short, but give some kind of like information about those to everybody, just because the amazing research we were able to do based on everything. But and just talk about what now. You know what I mean? We had this great movie, Black Panther. It's influenced us in such a way that we've bought multiple movie tickets to this movie, dressed up in African garb to go to this movie. What can we? How much positive action can we leverage from the movie? Honestly, that's my question. How much positivity can be leveraged from this movie and taken to whatever level? I mean, how amazing would it be to see the things that have become because of this movie? I mean, I think it just is special. It's an amazing occurrence. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think anybody has any other
Well, no,
discussion.
it's because if you look at the latency, it's like we were still talking, so it's still a feedback.
So a little delay.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of time. Yeah.
Thanks for breaking it down, Logan. Yeah, the movie was amazing. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen a better film that really just flushed everything out. Like sometimes in films you just leave and you're like, man, they could have did more with this, but I mean, they really did it. They truly flushed out the storyline for everybody.
So yeah, I think people are starting to catch up with us. Oh, it's already off.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, I mean, I think we could
I think
power
we
now.
can power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Peace out. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, comment, tag people. Follow the Rock and Hype account on Instagram. We're still trying to get our followers up. Yes. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks.